Matt Gaetz was picked to be Attorney General. He is now out. Word on the street is he's kind of a sex pest. Apparently enough folks in Congress bought that too. He is out. Pam Bondi has been tapped for the job. Listeners are probably aware that Matt Gaetz was picked to be Attorney General. He is now out. Now, I'm no expert on the guy or his record or anything like that, but word on the street is he's kind of a sex pest. That's what people say to me. I'm just reporting what people are saying. You know, I can't swear that he is a sex pest. I haven't seen it myself, but that's what people in the streets are saying. And apparently enough folks in Congress bought that too. He is out. Pam Bondi has been tapped for the job. And she was Attorney General of Florida for a time. And since Florida does not have a Department of Labor, the Attorney General is the only official authorized to enforce the state minimum wage, which is slightly higher than the national minimum wage. Under her tenure as Florida's Attorney General, she took no enforcement action against companies for breaking the state's minimum wage, which, as I said, is a little bit higher than the federal minimum. And that's despite federal data showing that companies routinely violated the federal minimum wage, which automatically then defied the state minimum wage, right? If they're paying less than the federal minimum, they're damn sure paying less than the Florida minimum. But during her time, she never did do any enforcement on that. There was an article from The Nation magazine a while back. Let's see. This is actually a little bit older article from July of 2016. Florida has not held an employer responsible for violating the minimum wage since 2011. Right. So wanted to pull a couple excerpts from this article. It's worth highlighting. In March of 2014, a nail salon worker in Florida filed a complaint against her boss with the office of the state's Republican Attorney General, Pam Bondi. The salon worker, who wished to remain anonymous in this article for fear of retaliation by her former employer, told the reporter that she had started at the salon the previous November, and that in addition to a variety of workplace abuses, her boss refused to pay his employees the state's minimum wage, which was then $7.93 an hour. In her complaint to Bondi's office, the worker described an alarming set of alleged offenses. Quote, "They make us work a minimum of 40 hours a week and sometimes remove our rights for breaks, yet only pay straight commission," said the worker's complaint, which was submitted to Bondi's office by email. Quote, "There are weeks where some of us have had to work 45 hours plus and only had a check for $10 to $50. They threaten if we even ask about minimum wage." The complaint added that, quote, "Many of the girls are scared to say the wrong thing, yet don't have enough money to feed their families." The salon employee, who, along with her husband, was working to raise an autistic child, hoped that Bondi's office would help her get the money that she was owed for her months of salon work. But the worker heard nothing from Bondi's office in response to the complaint, even after multiple follow-ups. Quote, "I made 2 or 3 calls, and after a few months passed, I assumed they weren't going to do anything," the worker told me, "so I dropped it." To the salon worker, who estimated she was owed some $2,000 in back wages for several months of work, Florida's top cop for labor violations appeared to be off duty. Pam Bondi is a politician who has voiced fierce opposition to strong minimum wage laws and has close ties to organizations that have aggressively lobbied against laws to protect workers from theft. In 2013, she declined to sue Trump University for fraudulent business practices after personally soliciting and securing a hefty political contribution from Trump himself. According to the records obtained by The Nation, workers have filed more than 36 complaints with Bondi's office during the past couple years. The grievances range from employees expressing concern that their bosses are getting away with skimming a few cents an hour off their minimum wage paychecks, to workers flagging a variety of severe workplace abuses. Please don't let anyone Please don't let anyone else go through what I endured, said one complaint, in which a worker alleged sexual harassment and highly unsanitary conditions in a restaurant kitchen. She also believed her co-workers were being underpaid. It was awful, she said. Despite such complaints, Bondi's public comments have given the impression that wage theft in Florida is not a problem in need of robust solutions. In a statement provided to the reporter in February for a separate article, Bondi's office did not respond to more than a dozen requests for comment on this particular story. A spokesperson for the office seemed to suggest that wage theft is a minor issue, with the bulk of claims coming from workers being paid mere cents below the minimum wage. And most, the spokesperson suggested, can simply be fixed by giving employers reminders to comply with the law.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Brian Martinez, who worked as a waiter in St. Petersburg, recently got a first-hand taste of Bondi's soft approach to wage and hour enforcement. In early April of last year, Martinez began work at an upscale restaurant in the city's downtown area, where he says he was paid just $4.91 an hour with no tips, significantly below the state and federal minimum wage during his first 7 days of training. Then for weeks, Martinez's boss heavily skimmed off the tips earned by him and the other waiters, Martinez said. After a period of several weeks, Martinez estimates that he was owed approximately $1,000 in unpaid wages. Once I found out that he was taking money out of my paycheck, I confronted him, Martinez recalls, and he told me that if I didn't like it, I could get another job. So Martinez decided to turn to Florida's top lawyer for help. Quote, I thought that they were going to get my money back, Martinez told the reporter. I assumed that they were going to do everything they could to make it right. In mid-May of last year, Martinez filed his complaint with Bondi's office. Someone needs to investigate this guy and his books because he is stealing from his employees and getting free labor, Martinez's complaint read. Please help me get what I'm owed and every other employee's what they're owed. It's unfair to myself and everyone there. I have all paid subs for future reference if needed. Thank you, and I'll look forward to hearing from someone soon. Martinez says that an investigator from Bondi's office did get in touch with him and that the two had a few phone conversations and exchanged approximately 20 emails. The investigator also appeared to have placed a call to his employer, which, he says, seems to have prompted his boss to offer him a settlement check. Yet the back wages that his boss was providing in the check disappointed Martinez, to say the least. The sum that his boss offered, Martinez says, amounted to $10.54, a check he declined to deposit. I thought it was pretty comical, to be honest, Martinez said. After he continued to inquire with the Attorney General's office, Martinez said the state agency lost interest in his case. I tried to reach out a few times to ask, have you heard anything? Is there anything happening with this? Martinez recalls. And there was no response at all. I have no idea what was going on with the state. So, wanted to share that about Pam Bondi, since she is in the news. She is someone we're going to be hearing more and more about. Gotta say, not impressed with her wage enforcement in Florida. You asking me to believe there was not a single minimum wage violation in the state? Okay. Continuing on with some federal politicians, this is certainly relevant to a lot of our government employees, members of AFGE and IFPTE and others. Texas Senator John Cornyn, he said that requiring federal employees to come to the office 5 days a week would result in a wave of voluntary terminations that we welcome. If federal employees don't want to show up, American taxpayers shouldn't pay them for the COVID-era privilege of staying home. Interesting. So, Senator from Texas, John Cornyn, wants all federal employees to come to the office 5 days a week. He believes a lot of people would quit because they don't want to show up, quote unquote. Meanwhile, just out of curiosity, we looked at his attendance. Senator John Cornyn. Since you think people don't want to show up to work, how often do you show up to work as a senator? Well, turns out he was the 19th most absent in votes compared to all other senators. So there were 81 people better than him at showing up to work. He missed over 6% of his votes. So we wanted to share that. Just thought that was interesting. Personally, I don't think we should force everyone back to the office if it's not necessary. And I don't think it's necessary. Right? A lot of folks can work effectively from home or in hybrid situations. And it's not always cost effective to force people back to the office, which is what a lot of folks have learned. Now, I recognize that the real estate industry really wants people to go back to the office. But, yeah, we just thought that was interesting, that this senator complaining about federal employees not showing up to work, but turns out he doesn't always show up to work himself.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.